took no note until the flood came and swept them all away. With those words, Jesus confirmed that Noah was a real person and that the flood was an actual historical event. He also warned us that the period just before the flood mirrors the period in which we live today. So it's important to consider closely what happened in Noah's day and to see what we can learn from it. The opening chapters of the book of Genesis give us a picture of what life was like in the centuries prior to Noah, after Adam and Eve were expelled from the Garden of Eden. Everyone spoke the same language, and people had possibly developed the art of writing. They had built a city, maybe several cities. They had learned how to forge copper and iron. They made musical instruments, harps and flutes.
That is the afro.
And because they were much closer to the physical perfection of Adam and Eve, they lived long lives, hundreds of years.
Howdy, heretics. I have been watching the JW convention this year, and I was really impressed by Anthony Morris. Spoke about Noah and emphasized that this is a real story, and he showed this lovely picture of Noah in the forest. So I feel like Noah is a little bit like me in a forest. And it reminds me about the Mormons. The Mormons believe that their religion is true, and they're willing to sacrifice a lot. But they will always say that we cannot prove that our religion is true. It's about faith. So my question will always be, can you prove that it is not true? Can you disprove it? And they don't like that question. But the same I would ask to Jehovah Witnesses. If you can't prove that Noah existed, can you prove that the ark existed, or that it's at least possible? So that's why I think that I was surprised that Anthony Morris would choose this. Obviously, they focus a lot about the worldly people were terrible, and Noah was wonderful, and the terrible people deserve to die, and Jehovah is great, and you have to be in his ark and protected by Jehovah. But there must be something more, until I realize that they are preparing for new light. That's the interesting part. I'm 100% sure that Jehovah Witnesses are preparing, the governing body is preparing for new light.
The materialized angels and their savage offspring dominated the world of that time, and people followed their lead. Jehovah saw that man's wickedness was rampant, and that every inclination of the thoughts of his heart was only bad all the time. How Satan must have delighted to see most humans reject Jehovah and become more and more corrupt. But
howdy. So I've been preparing a lot of clips so you don't have to watch it all. What do you think? Why are the governing body taking the chance of talking about the flood? That's what wake people up.
I don't know what they're doing, but this is a bad road to go down, because a lot of people, a lot of logical people, look at that very, very skeptically. So yeah, I think you're onto something, man. They may be trying to wiggle their way out of some new light. Well, wiggle their way into some new light.
I think Anthony Morris just can't help himself.
What are we talking about, y'alls?
The convention, sister. Didn't you go to the convention?
No, I'm a slacker.
Oh, she brought the church bench home. She's like,
I did. I have a pew.
I'm like, she got a pew in her living room. I've never seen that.
Yeah.
And she's playing in it, and she's sitting in a chair that is designed for playing pew pew kind of games.
Pew pew.
Right. That's right.
That's right. That's what's up.
Do anyone know when the Jehovah Witnesses will watch the convention? Because they will put it online, so they can watch it when they want. But when do they watch it? Do anyone know? Take a guess. Is it with the congregation, or when is the decision made to watch it?
Ooh, I have no idea.
Because obviously someone told them how to make the decision.
Wow. Yeah, man.
It says that it's the husbands who have to decide when the family should watch it.
For real?
man.
Yep.
Of course.
Wow.
Well, doesn't that mean then that, like, because I know that after the convention, like at least for the in-person ones, at the very next local needs part, the local needs part was sort of taken over to say, well, we're going to review the convention, or at the very least, like the service meeting, everything that the society had in the kingdom ministry. It's like, yeah, throw that out the window. We're going to have 3 talks, and each brother is going to get up there and review one day of the convention with everybody, and we'll see who's the most sanctimonious and took the most notes. But
Well, but isn't
when do they do that now?
But isn't everything they do constant review though? Like, I feel like my entire childhood was nothing but reviewing the same Watchtower lesson over and over and over.
Yeah, that's it. That's absolutely it. Anytime you're dealing with a cult like this, they have to do the same stuff over and over and over again. It's just basically strengthening brainwashing. That's what they do. They have to, first, 1, keep you busy, and 2, make you believe something unquestionably. You know what I mean? And one way you do that is to repeat it over and over and over and over. So once you get to the point to where you're like, all right, I don't know about this other stuff, but I've heard this one thing so many times, I know this has to be true. You know what I mean? So yeah. You're never really learning anything new. And they definitely beat you over the head with the stuff that they beat you over the head with, because they want to get it into your mind. They want to brainwash you to the point that you don't even question it. You may question some things, but the things they really want you to believe, you don't question. Like the flood. No matter how ridiculous it is and how crazy it is and unreasonable it is, they want you to believe it. So yeah, they're going to beat you over the head with it from point blank, just every single meeting.
That's why they get so excited when new light comes out, because it's like, oh, it's actually something we haven't heard 1,000 times.
Is new light on 2,000-year-old material technically new light, though? Like, when does it become old light on 2,000-year-old material?
Well, especially if it's the same light that used to be the old light, but now it's the new light again.
They should call it recycled light then.
Like whether you're supposed to scream when somebody's trying to rape you, it was yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. So you never knew what the light really was.
Well, in this case, Sister Fister, I'm happy to tell you that they will tell the story about, and he likes to talk about gross details. And he says that women were raped by the demons that came down to earth. But then the solution to that was, according to Jehovah, the creator of the earth, to kill the women.
How does he know? How would he say that? There weren't 2 witnesses there.
No. So
well played, Stefan. Well played.
Thank you.
So I'm going to play clips, and then when I stop them, you can just say whatever first thing that comes into your mind. So let's see what Brother Morris say now.
In that world of depraved people, there was a man who was faithful to Jehovah.
If you've never been a Jehovah Witnesses, Jehovah Witnesses have a religion that they predict something will happen, and when it doesn't happen, they have something called new light and say, well, what we really meant was that this happened, and it's in the Bible. And I just realized that the reason why they take the gamble to talk about Noah is because they are preparing some serious new doctrine. So please look at the rest of the video and I'll show you. But first, look at me in the forest like Noah. And now look at the picture of Noah. You see him among the trees and you see his beautiful tool.
Is that a stick?
This is the only tool I have that looks closest to his tool. It's a machete. So
Oh God, Jonas, you're
if
so
I would build an
funny.
ark using this, I will basically build it like a log house. That's a really cool construction. We've been doing it in Norway for thousands of years.
Some people today say that there was no such person as Noah, and that the account of the ark and the flood is just a legend or a fairy tale. But the Bible writer knew that Noah really existed and that the flood truly happened.
Man, his fingertips are getting fatter and fatter. Boy, he got some meaty fingers, boy. I don't know what he's doing. Like, man, come on,
So
bro.
listen to the logic there, though. Well, because somebody wrote it down, that person knew that it really happened. Okay, so by that logic, Harry Potter's real, and Spider-Man's real, and SpongeBob's real, and
Whoa. SpongeBob is real. He's at the bottom
somebody
of the
wrote
ocean.
it down. Therefore,
Squidward.
it's real.
Yeah, I have to attest to that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So the reason why I went into the forest to show this is because quite often when witnesses start waking up and they have to check if this is true, they start measuring the ark. And if you want to build an ark, you would basically have to build it like a Norwegian log house. And that means, imagine you're building a log house, one room. It cannot be bigger than 6 times 6 meters. And then another one room next to that, and one. So the whole ark must have been like a lot of log cabins, and the rooms can be basically just 5 times 5 meters. Because otherwise it's too wobbly. You can't have this long row.
But
so
how
then,
do you make a log cabin waterproof?
Well, that's a different thing. But
Magic.
Just to start with one thing, if a Jehovah Witness watching this, I just wanted to think, just do the math. How many logs do you need? And the tool they were using was this machete.
Wasn't the guy like 1,000 years old, though?
No, he was only 600 years old.
Oh, well.
I have a way better tool for building arcs personally.
I bet you do.
That's right. And warding off the
Yeah, I like that. Yes.
Yeah.
Nothing beats a batleth.
Not for if you're going to build an ark, you basically have to transport all the lumber also. So I have a winch on my tractor that can pull with 2 metric tons. That's really small, but he had nothing.
Yeah.
Just moving the lumber is, well, maybe he used an elephant, but still it's.
But I hope, well, he needed several elephants, and that's messed up because only 2 of them could make it to the new system. He made some of them elephants do all that work, and they ain't even get on the boat.
Yeah, they just burned them out. All right, well, that's another 2 elephants down. Next,
And it's a picture inside of the what's that little stupid yellow book? My book of horror stories. No, my book. My book of Bible stories.
No, you were right the first time.
Yeah, I know, right? There was definitely 2 elephants sitting outside of the ark, like, yo, really, bro? We helped build that thing. You can't even let us in. That's what he did. He worked them elephants and then didn't even let them on the boat.
He used unicorns.
Oh, unicorns. But he didn't have any tools. No tools at all. Like the tools he did have, like Jonah said, was a machete. Do you know how hard it is to cut down a tree with a machete? Like maybe I guess God gave him like superhuman strength and he was like cutting them down. Like y'all seen that movie of Abraham Lincoln, the Vampire Hunter? And he had his axe and he was like one swinging the trees and knocking them down, cutting them down.
I thought that was Paul Bunyan.
Maybe he had Paul Bunyan strength. What did he have?
Well, at the very least, if he had that, that's a lot more effective than having to use a herring. I mean,
Rocket.
He looked like on that picture. He looked like he just had a stick wrapped in string. It didn't even look sharp, but somehow maybe it was a magic wand. You know, I don't know, but it just didn't look like anything worthy of cutting down anything. And and as you said, to make it waterproof, come on, man.
Yeah, that's almost impossible. Let's
Where
see.
did they get the recipe for tar? I'd love to know that. Like, who had the recipe?
There's tar pits.
I don't know. Like, but on their drama, when they did the drama about this, and what was it, 87? You hear Noah talking with his wife. It's like, you know, we're going to need more tar. Where did they get that from? Because it's like, you know, as you say, Noah, you're telling me that they were mixing up tar on their own, like.
And keeping it hot too. Maybe they had like.
Oh wow, that's a good point. Well, I mean, they were smelting gold in a campfire, so maybe. I mean, I don't know.
Well,
I mean, that's how the golden calf story is, right? They melted all the gold. I want to know.
No, the calf just came on out.
Oh, did it?
I can answer the tar question because they actually had like tar pits, and the Swedish translation say asphalt. It's like this really thick thing. And it's really great to use if you're building a boat that's really small. But as soon as something is that big and you have movement,
Yeah. It comes
if you want to, you can use silicon. Silicon is 10% flexible, so it will move. But asphalt, there's a reason why we call it, it's hard, and when it cracks, it's open. It's not flexible in any way. And I know with construction, this kind of, well, it would not be possible. But if you had some kind of silicon that would be like 100% flexible, it doesn't exist. But if you had like some kind of rubber, at least 50% flexible, maybe they would not sink the first hour.
Maybe
but actually,
just bless them with fiberglass.
Well, they were using wood, and I
Maybe
can
it was
explain.
transparent aluminum.
Ooh.
We have to see what brother Morris say about it. So you can talk while this is going, but it stopped now.
You think they sent that
All
Flex
was
Seal guy
not
back in
well.
time?
People turned away from Jehovah, and as a result, they became very violent and immoral. Things got so bad that Jehovah moved a righteous man named Enoch, the seventh man in the genealogical line from Adam, to prophesy that God would not forever tolerate a wicked and rebellious world. He'd execute judgment against the ungodly. Of course, the ungodly people in Enoch's day didn't like what he was saying. They hated Enoch, and they may have tried to kill him. Enoch never saw the fulfillment of this prophecy. Another 600 years
Yo, he's
passed,
drunk right now.
and by then conditions on earth had become even worse.
Okay, I love that guy's face who's standing like.
I
right
was
behind
thinking
him.
the same thing.
He's like, who the hell is this guy, and why is his face all wonky?
Is he like an ancestor of Stephen Lett or something?
Maybe.
Did he eat extra frown sauce or something?
He was definitely drunk.
I mean, he had like a super
Definitely
duper frown on.
Yeah, he was pretty PO'd, it looked like.
Yeah, I don't know what that was.
He
I
was
mean,
drinking.
I mean, look at him. Look at that face. He's like, what is wrong with this dude?
I feel like Enoch, like maybe he like didn't put on deodorant or something because this guy looking at him like, Jesus Christ, man, you
You
stink.
smell something?
Like that's yeah, he looked like he smelled something. He ain't really mad. He just smelled something. He like, damn, Enoch, you ain't gonna wash up at all. You gonna just come out here talk about you represent God, smelling like that.
Can we also talk about the shit-eating grin that Enoch has on his face? You're standing in the middle of all of these guys. You got one guy who's pissed off about your lack of deodorant. Another guy who's got a stick in the air. He's like, "Rah! Hulk smash!" Another guy is mashing his teeth, and he's like, "Hi."
And I'm kind of mad.
You're all
At this,
gonna die.
I'm kind of mad at this fashion statement he's trying to make. I don't know what is this. It's like metrosexual for like back in the day, half
I thought they
leather,
weren't
half
supposed to-
cloth.
They weren't supposed to mix fabrics, were they, Jay?
Oh, that's right.
I was thinking
You're
that
right.
myself.
That's a mixture of fabric. He stank. He talking about he working for God. Yeah, I understand this brother now. I see why he's so upset now. Oh man, this is pretty crazy. But
JW Suicides, I love your comment. She says, if everyone was nearer perfection, wouldn't they be better looking?
that's an amazing point. Why he got all that beard, but they got no mustache?
And no chest hair either. They all look
Oh,
like
yeah,
relaxed.
that's true.
That's right. No forearm hair. They keep it tight. That's a clean beard. Like it's a beard, but it's a clean one, you know.
So another comment
They use
here.
waxing technique.
Killer.
I think.
He says, why are you mocking a sketch, a picture of someone's art? What are your points? Our points are it's bad art and this is a comedy. It's funny.
Well, the point is, this is why we mock the art, because even the art itself is used to basically like brainwash people. They want to make you feel that everybody who Jehovah destroyed was worthy of it.
Yep.
You understand? Like the guy, he's frowning so hard and he's trying to look as evil as possible because we know that signals he was deserving of death. That's why we make fun of it, because it's over the top, and they use this technique all the time. I was talking to Jonas earlier because they use this technique even to show children. Because of course, God killed some children, and since children, they always look so cute and innocent, the Watchtower went out of their way to make children look evil.
Yeah.
Do you get that? Like, to make a child look evil so you could justify that child being destroyed and losing his life is evil. That's absolutely evil. So yes, if there's going to be a picture of it, I'm going to absolutely rip that picture a new one, because of the simple fact I know what it's for. I know why it's used. And the artwork is good. It looks good. Whoever drew it to make it look good. They're very talented.
They can draw better than I can.
Yeah, me too. And I can actually draw. Like, I'm an artist, but
yeah,
they're wasting their talent.
It's not the fact that we're pointing and bullying people about their artwork. It's the fact that, we're not here. This isn't a scholarly debate, right?
No.
We're here to laugh.
Exactly. and we can also point out the unreasonableness of the pictures themselves, because like I said, they're done for a reason, and it's not a good one. It's very evil, and their entire reasoning behind it is evil. So yeah,
this is a good way to kind of like reframe the subject matter in your mind. I mean, if you can point at it and laugh, Bridget, I'm a fellow Harry Potter fan just like you. If you can point at it and go ridiculous, well,
yes,
yeah,
Harry Potter.
Then it loses its power completely. Once it's hilarious, it's completely has no power over you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, because back when I was growing up, these pictures, this imagery had power over me. Especially my book of Bible stories. I don't know any Jehovah Witness who grew up inside of that organization who saw those pictures and still to this day don't feel a certain type of way when they look at them. Like, don't feel that fear, because they put inside of these children's book people being destroyed, falling into like pits, and evil dragon burning them with fire. A woman being overthrown by a 7-headed beast and eaten alive, one person thrown out of a friggin' window, and all type of other like scary imagery that
Jesus pinned to a pole and bleeding.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
everything.
that too.
And the way that they
scary.
depict women in general.
Oh yeah,
it's absolutely revolting.
Yeah. So in things like this, we get to disarm some of that craziness. We get to take back our power.
Go?
Yeah, is it just us, Jonas?
Us now. Jonas left us. We have control of this channel. Let's do
I know.
So abandoned.
We have now officially taken over Goatlike Personalities channel. Hi, it's your boy Jay the Commedian. What's poppin'? How you doing today? I know. I got to compliment a random body part now.
I got to put my thinking cap on now.
Please subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button so the YouTube algorithm can show it to as many people as possible.
Hey, let's do some more convention video.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
we
do
have
it.
to do that.
No. Until
So
the
I have
flood
to-
came.
Speaking of which,
Hey, you guys, I'm going to have to cut out in a little bit. I unfortunately have to go pick up my car from the shop. They're calling me.
Oh, materialism.
I know.
Brother Jay is not conscious of his spiritual need.
I am not,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Okay, but Jay, thanks
Yes.
for coming on, and sorry for we had some power outage here. I don't know why, because
Yeah, it's
there's
all
a
good.
thunderstorm, but it came back. But mention your channel.
Hi, everybody. Jay the Comedian. My channel is Jay the Comedian. So if y'all ever want to come check it out, come check it out. And Jonas, thanks again for inviting me. It's always fun to hang out with you guys. Steph, Sister Fista, and everybody else. Peace out, y'all.
Okay, thank you,
Bye,
and
Jay.
we will watch.
Hi, Jay.
All right,
We
peace.
will watch Convention.
I am going to
Okay.
So I just want to comment this, because when Watchtower showed the propaganda, like God decided to kill everyone and kill. They show people pictures, propaganda pictures of worldly people that are angry and violent and stuff like that. And then it kind of seemed like reasonable. Yeah, why wouldn't the lovely God kill all those terrible children? So I just removed, instead of having the worldly children, I took Watchtower propaganda of Jehovah Witness children, and then we can see how it sounds, the murderous propaganda, when the kids look nice. So that's why we have Caleb and Sophia.
The white men whom I have created off the surface of the ground. Man together with domestic animals, creeping animals, and flying creatures of the heavens, for I regret that I have made them.
During that time, some angels from heaven noticed beautiful human women and developed lustful feelings for them. These angels rebelled against God by coming to earth and taking on human bodies in order to have sex with the women.
Can't blame
They
them.
became selfish and wicked demons. They may have been
Poking me right
charming,
there. What is
intelligent, handsome, and they had supernatural powers. They must have been irresistible, especially to women who themselves had no love of God.
Come over here and say that, mother. Sorry.
Yeah, Birgit, as a woman that have no love for God, do you find demons irresistible?
Look, okay, that woman in the picture did not find that guy irresistible. Okay, that looked like a get off me look. I mean, that looked like a why are you creeping up behind me kind of. I mean, that face. Yeah, that's just really irritating. That whole sequence there was just.
Yeah, my wife watched that, and she just looked at him when he said that maybe these women, terrible women, find them in blah blah blah, and she just looked and said, "He never had any luck with women. That guy. He's just taking revenge on women in general." And
This whole story is problematic because these spirits had lustful feelings for women, and so they came down and had sex with women. When do the women get a choice? Do the women have the choice to say, no, we're not going to have sex with these spirits? No.
Nope.
And then after all that happened, what happened to the women who had no agency in the first place? I mean, this makes me so mad.
Well, the thing is, when the demons rape a woman, they get terrible children, and good parenting include killing the children, killing the rape victim, and the neighbors, because if you're Jehovah Witness watching this,
everything, death
just
is the answer.
Just for the sake of argument, let's say that Jehovah is real, the demons is real, the ark is real, and everything is 100% real. And someone come to my door, knock at my door, and in this case, I'm not a rape victim or anything, and they say, God's going to kill everyone unless you go into that boat. And I say, no, thank you. Does that objectively mean that I deserve to die?
Yeah.
If you're a witness, it does. But I mean, for normal, well-adjusted people, hell no.
No. It's just a crazy person with a boat.
Crazy.
I just have to go back to that drama again that they did on the flood. You had what was the girl's name? Bethia, I think her name was on the drama, and she was supposed to be one of these girls that was marrying one of these angels.
Yeah.
And they painted her like such an airhead ditzy sort of thing. And even later on in the drama, when so many years have passed, and now she's supposed to be so old, although she sounds exactly the same. Like Noah's wife says to her, like, would you even now go on to there? She's like, oh no, I can't, I dare not. I just keep thinking to myself, like, these people, like Noah and his family, were supposed to believe that they were preaching to all of these people, trying to tell them, just like Enoch supposedly, that doomsday is coming. It's any day now. But are you telling me then that Noah and his family were not only building the ark, just 8 people, 4 guys with a machete, right? But they were also gathering supplies, as Tony points out, gathering supplies for all of the animals and food for themselves. Are you telling me that we're supposed to believe that they were also gathering enough food for an unnumbered great crowd? See what I did there? To join them on the ark as well? And does that mean that, like, at the end, you know, brothers, we have a surplus of food because nobody came? I have to ask. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a good question, because Jehovah Witnesses claim that, you know, they got the chance to go to the ark. Let's say that the people would do as in they did in Nineveh, also not a true story, but they go and say, yes, Noah, this makes completely sense. God will not kill the demons, but he will kill the humans and all the animals. So we will go to the ark. Well, then they would just say, well, there's no room for you in this ark.
Should have been building your own.
So there's a comment that this is funny because I've mentioned this in one of my videos before. The Faithful and Discreet Apostate says, here's my most troubling question. How could angels with no physical bodies, no hormones in their brains, have sexual feelings for women? This is an excellent question. I would take that a step further and say, okay, spirits are like amorphous beings, right? They're not solid. You can't touch them. So how could they have sex with women? I mean, I know that in this story with the Nephilim, they supposedly created their own bodies or whatever, which that's bizarre. But the stories that we heard later, I know when I was coming up, there was this whole thing about, you know, it's actually sleep paralysis, but these people would have nightmares and say that demons had come to them in the night and had sex with them and whatever. How would that even work? Because even if a spirit had a penis and he was going to do it with a real, like a human woman, would she even feel anything? Because spirits are not solid, right?
Does this also mean that spirits had the ability to create life? Like,
oh, that's a good question. Do they have sperm?
Well, exactly. Like, you know, it's always said, like, you know, they fashioned human bodies for themselves and whatnot. So out of what? Like, did they steal the page out of Jehovah's recipe book and be like, all right, so all I need is a bit of dust and blow a bunch of hot air up the nose, and now we'll just go inside and it's fully functional. Fully functional and fluent in over 1,000 forms of pleasure. Like,
the thing is with you know about chromosomes. Women have 2 X chromosomes and guys have X and Y. So if the demons would materialize and become human beings with functioning and aesthetically pleasing genitalia with sperm and everything, the sperm would make every second Nephilim would be a female Nephilim. You know, that's how chromosomes work. And I remember
Oh yeah.
Why were there no female Nephilim then?
No, and Watchtower, at least when I was a kid, they tried to explain it that the genes of the Nephilims were so dominant, so they could only produce male offspring, which, believe it or not, I think this story might not be true.
Why? Because reasons, people.
Just crazy. I mean, okay, so the short answer is this is all BS anyway. So,
yeah, but it shows a severe lack of respect for human rights. It shows a severe lack of respect for animals. It shows a severe lack of, well, our intelligence, that they actually want us to believe it. But never mind, we're humble. We can live with that. But it's a severe lack of respect for all these women that was raped and then was executed with their children for the crime of being raped, while the demons got to go back to heaven.
That was one of the most disturbing things I found in the Bible Horror Stories book. The 2-page spread of the flood. You had a woman holding her baby, sitting on the top, presumably on the top of a mountain, as the water was coming up. And I remember thinking as a kid, like, that poor baby's about to drown.
Yeah. There's a reason why they put it there.
I remember asking my mother, why would Jehovah kill the baby? And she gave me the stock answer that well, even baby rats are cute, but it grows up to be bad. So its parents were bad. It would have grown up to be bad. So Jehovah knew. So he went ahead and killed it.
Yeah.
And
that's what they say about Jewish kids too, in not so long ago.
Does this mean, like, even just going back to my question that I had earlier about like all of the food and whatever else, does this mean as well that the Ark had a whole bunch of empty rooms on board? When they finally would have gone in and the door would have been shut, it's like, well, nobody joined us, so the West Wing over there, where people would have been living while we're in here, whole wackadoodle of empty rooms and beds.
Well, I can explain that, because if you need drinking water, and it was only raining the first 40 days, so there was like 320 days, according to this story, with no rain, so they couldn't drink rainwater. So you need to store water, and that basically means the highest floor you store the water. That means it would be extremely wobbly with all the water.
And that means it would all taste like tar.
Yeah.
Yes. Speaking of tar, where does the poop go? Where does the poop go?
That's
another great question.
Because I'm a farmer. Every year, farmers die from poop poisoning. The gas. The gas that comes from manure is heavier than air, so it will not climb up to a window. So if you have a barn and the shit goes down, and the farmer or a kid for some reason go down there, start poking around, they will die, and it's a knockout gas. What happened is that if you breathe it in just once, you're knocked out, and then you breathe it in the second time and you're dead. It's that strong. So basically everything on the Ark, even if it would work, everything on the Ark would have died from gas.
Or you just avoid the bottom floor.
Yeah, but
as one comedian
when
once
put it, moving around, you would still die on the second
floor. Maybe Bridget, maybe a strong wind burst forth from Jehovah.
Yeah.
Call back to your childhood
God,
drama
so
episode 2 on my video or on my channel, guys.
Let's see what the faithful and discreet slave has to say.
Perhaps the angels took some women by force. Whatever the case, the angels took all whom they chose. What human on earth at that time could hope to stop demons? To these godless creatures, people lost their daughters, their sisters, and possibly even their wives. The women became pregnant and gave birth to sons. But their sons were not like other boys. They were stronger. They were bullies, aggressive,
They were Caleb.
fierce, and brutal. Those qualities stayed with them as they grew. The boys became men, but they were unusually cruel.
Yeah.
Huh.
Okay, I have something to say. He's pissed me off again. People lost their daughters, maybe even their wives. Excuse me, what the fuck do you think happens when somebody gets disfellowshipped?
On the other hand, I think it's nice that they for once see this from a male perspective. That a male would lose his wife, he would lose his sister, a male would lose his...
But that's nothing compared to being raped and like tortured and having to give birth to a giant evil robot, whatever the hell it is. No, they weren't robots. I don't know where robot came from, but you know what I'm saying. I'm so mad right now. These people piss me off.
Tony asks the question, like what human being could stop a demon? See, and this is like,
I can.
This is, yeah. Ha! Like, oh wait, no. Grab your silver sword. Let's go, demon.
Oh no. If we're doing that, Stefan, wait. If we're doing that, hold on. I gotta have enough room. Cha!
There we go. See, but like, if we accept at face value what Tony is saying, and no human could stop a demon, then how in the hell can God supposedly hold these people responsible when he's just sitting back there going, well, boys will be boys, eh? We're gonna have to do something about that someday. Meanwhile, you've got women that are being taken by force, potentially, according to what Tony is saying here, or they're being hypnotized, like come with me, you know you want me. Either way, are these people responsible for what happened to them? To me, it feels like the God that kind of just sat back and said, well, boys will be boys. The universe's biggest enabler and creator of rape culture in the end. Like that's what this distills down to for me. It's like, this is not human beings' fault. This is your fault.
Right.
Like, accept some responsibility. Well, like, yeah.
Okay, so
now I'm pissed
a good
off.
illustration here, Stefan, is if everybody who's watched my channel knows that I have 2 little boys, right? And I made them, right? I'm responsible for who they are in their lives right now. I'm their person, right? Well, if I make them dinner and I burn it, am I going to blame them? If it doesn't taste good, is it their fault if they don't want to eat it? No, it's my fault, right? If you have the power, you have the responsibility and the accountability. Even more so if you're claiming to be the almighty goddamn creator of the universe. Like, there's no way that anybody could be responsible for anything if he's not responsible first.
Mm-hmm.
So he created people the way they are, right? There should be no question about, like, homosexuality, for example. Did he make a mistake or something? Or did he make gay people and then blame them for being the way he made them? Which means he's an asshole.
As George Carlin put it perfectly. He's like, look, he says, gay people, homosexual people, you would think that they and Christians would get along because homosexual people are never going to have an abortion.
Right?
You should be allies based upon this.
Perfect.
George Carlin, y'all. Like, yeah.
Yeah. The whole story with the Nephilim, that's how they taught us about homosexuals, that the angels had no inclination, but they were feeding their unrighteous desire, and in the end, they got like crazy. And that's the same that happened to homosexuals. It's like, they watch, masturbation, and they get, penis is fun. I love penis. I only like penis. I hate women. You turn yourself into a homosexual, and I remember using that in field service as a Jehovah Witness when I should explain homosexuality, that they basically brainwash themselves like the angels. It's kind of fun to think about it. I was actually, as a grown-up, trying to explain to other grown-ups that homosexuals were just like the angels that came down from heaven to have sex with women, and I thought it was real.
Yeah, so were the angels wearing tight pants? Because Tony had that thing on tight pants. There might be what is tight pants in Hebrew, in ancient Hebrew? We need to get on this. Anybody? No?
What is pillow in ancient Hebrew?
In Hebrew?
This comment that is up on screen right now from Angela. She says, anyone can stop a demon, cast them out in the name of Christ Jesus. Okay, let's just take that comment at face value for a moment. According to biblical history, nobody knew the name Christ Jesus. So what else you got? I'm just saying.
That is a good point, Stefan.
What else you got?
Okay, that was savage.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Just wielding my sword of truth. That's all. Just saying.
Yeah. So if there are Jehovah Witnesses watching this, we don't want to make fun of you. We just want to make fun of the religion because it's ridiculous. Like someone asked her, who carried 150 human parasites? Take 150 and split it in 8. They must have had a really crappy year to be the host of. Like 20 parasites per person.
COVID 2370 BCE. COVID 2370.
So let's see what the faithful and discreet slave has to say here.
They were called Nephilim, possibly meaning those who cause others to fall down,
Jason Momoa.
and people feared them. Like their fathers, the Nephilim had no love for God, and they cared only about their fame for being strong and vicious.
Yeah. So this is how they look. Pretty cool. But why would they be so angry? You know, if here's not angry. So I'm just using some stock footage here with General Goat Farmer. If they would use pictures like this with a narrative that everything is evil and we need to kill it, it wouldn't work. It's such an element of propaganda here where they just show evil people and God got to kill everyone. But if you would take a picture before the flood, it would look like something like this. People walking around with their goats, playing with their pet pandas. You know that the Jehovah Witnesses believe that prior to the flood, all the animals were nice. So you could actually, if this was a real story, you would be able to find a nice Nephilim guy with his beautiful human woman and their beautiful children, and the children are playing with a pet tiger, a pet lion, and they're looking at the beautiful landscape. It would be possible to make that picture, and then Jehovah narrate say, the world is so evil, I want to kill everything, except the demons.
Well, but okay, so did they teach that all of the animals would be vegetarians in the paradise? Or were they teaching that animals were vegetarians before the flood as well?
Yes.
Both?
Jehovah Witnesses believe the animals were vegetarians before the flood.
Okay, so obviously they don't science. But I
little
always heard it
science.
as like after Armageddon in the paradise that the lions and tigers and bears would be vegetarians. But that always begged the question to me, well, then what's everybody going to eat? Because like within like a week or two, you're going to have like an overpopulation of prey animals. So there'll be deer everywhere and rabbits everywhere. There'll be no vegetation anywhere. A bunch of hot, thirsty, hungry Jehovah's Witnesses in ripped nylons, like standing around going, what are we going to do? Because we don't eat meat anymore and there's no water and there's no plants. And like, that's the natural logical progression, right?
They'll just wind up eating a bunch of nuts.
But the thing is, after the flood, the ground would, everything would be destroyed. And also there would be dead bodies everywhere. So you would not be able to find it. This is kind of gross. You would not be able to find fresh water anywhere. Obviously, there would be salt water everywhere. But if you would find a body of fresh water, it would be polluted by dead bodies. So you would actually not have any drinking water for the next 3 or 5 years after the flood.
Well,
so they would have died when they left the flood too. Except Noah made wine, got drunk.
Yeah.
So it's weird. Let's see what the faithful and discreet slave has to say here.
Some people today say that there was no such person as Noah, and that the account of the ark and the flood is just a legend or a fairy tale. But the Bible writer knew that Noah really existed and that the flood truly happened. The prophets Isaiah and Ezekiel both refer to Noah. Ezra, the writer of 1 Chronicles, and the gospel writer Luke both include Noah in the chronologies they compiled. The apostles Peter and Paul both confirm the Genesis account of the flood. And as we mentioned earlier, the Son of God himself testified that Noah was a real person and that the flood really happened.
Bible says Bible is real. Like,
So
that's what that
Jesus
boils
said
down to.
Noah
Bible
was
says
real?
Bible is true.
Who says Jesus is real?
Uh-huh.
I mean, Spider-Man's real. Come on.
Spider-Man says Iron Man is real. So, like, and so are all the rest of the Avengers.
Well,
Yeah.
if a Jehovah Witness would watch this, they would say, well, everything is possible for God. And I would agree that if there's a God, everything would be possible for him, but it would leave evidence.
Well, wait a minute, though. I have a problem with this everything's possible for God bullshit, too. All right. So everything's possible for him except protecting children in the kingdom hall.
Yeah, but children have free will and they want to, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
If everything is possible for God, then you don't need a freaking flood and an ark and everything else to, you know, do a giant etch-a-sketch on the earth. All you should have to do is just go, yeah, snap your fingers, all of the bad people disappear, and we're done. Like, you don't have to drown the whole planet and go through this whole business with the ark and the animals. You just snap your fingers, boom, all of the bad people are gone. All of the Nephilim are gone. All of the Nephilim's fathers are, you know, obliterated. Job done. Like,
well, first, there's no reason why the Nephilim should be bad just because their parents were bad. There's like, because if the angels have free will and the mothers had free will, the kids would have free will and could do what is right.
Right.
So that doesn't make any sense. But secondly,
punished Berserker Iron Man is a comic book character. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But anyway, what good came out of this flood? You know, God going to solve all the problems and all the violence by use of force? We still have rape and violence, and you know, it didn't solve any problem. It was just a hissy fit.
Well, wasn't Nimrod supposedly Noah's grandson? So that means you have the next generation, the flooded world, the next generation, and already you've got another bad seed in the pot, kind of thing. So, like, supposedly you had 8 uber righteous, God-fearing people go onto the ark, and that's all that's left. So you've supposedly wiped out all bad influences, and you just have a whole bunch of righteous, or a handful of righteous people. That means, and I can't remember if it was Shem, Ham, or Japheth that was Nimrod's direct father or whatnot, but like, it didn't take long for things to go sideways again. So what was it all for?
Yeah. I like the idea when they were sacrificing animals all the time, because what problem did it solve? It's like Adam and Eve is dying from old age, and what we do, we kill something that contains blood, and then like 4,000 years later, God come up with, this isn't working. Maybe I'll kill my kid because he never done anything wrong.
Right? How does that make any sense?
4,000 years of sacrifice and killing innocent animals. It's almost like it would be a scam. If you think about, you have a goat-based economy where all the Israelites are goat herders and sheep herders, and I say, well, God said that you should give 10% to me, otherwise he will kill you and you will get hemorrhoids. It's in the Bible. And they say, how do you know that? Well, it was a burning bush that told me. Well, no second witness. It was just me and the burning bush, but I had to take off my sandals. But there were no second witness, but there was a burning bush told me that you should give 10% of your salary to me. I think he was a con man.
And the burning bush, unfortunately, looked a lot like this.
Oh my gosh, this is so fun.
But yeah, I think it was a con man. Let's say what the faithful and discreet slave has to say here.
Noah's faith was outstanding. He lived in an evil world, a world dominated by materialized angels, their violent offspring, and a society of ungodly people. Noah lacked many of the things we have today to help us keep our faith strong. He had no Bible to help him to love Jehovah and to understand his ways. He didn't know about all the faithful men and women who would live after him. And Noah had no congregation of fellow believers to encourage him and to strengthen his faith. Yet Noah knew much.
Did somebody just feel the earth shift just a little bit there with that statement?
Yeah.
I feel like Winston is gonna jump on this on one of his videos, but just like the question you put up on screen there, Jonas, Noah didn't need an organization.
No, he needed Saul.
He didn't have a congregation. He didn't have anything. He just had his tablet.
Was it an iPad?
Oh, sorry, that was Moses. My bad. But that's a very like it's an interesting kind of thing, because if Noah, just as the days of Noah were, so the presence of the Son of Man will be. That's the scripture they absolutely love, and the whole reason they're bringing this up. There was no organization. You just had a dude and his family building a box. So why the sudden shift? If they were in the last days of that ancient world, so to speak, why the sudden shift? That if we're supposed to be in the last of the last final, last final, super last final, any second now days of this world, why is there an enormous organization needed?
Yeah. He did not have the... Well, the Jehovah Witnesses also don't have the watchtower anymore. You heard that? They will only print one watchtower a year and one awake a year.
What?
Yeah. So that's why I think they are preparing for a new light here.
What?
So the watchtower will only be printed once a year and awake once a year, and they're already. Remember when I remember my parents. They told me we were supposed to give our life for the literature, which is idol worshipping, by the way. And I remember I thought a lot about it, and I went to my parents and said, we have the watchtower and awake, and I said, I would give my life for a watchtower, but I can't see a reason why I should give my life for awake, because it's just articles about random stuff. And my parents were absolutely crushed, because their son were not willing to give his life for an awake.
Did you guys have the family study with the, well, okay, you probably didn't because your mom wasn't insane like mine, but we had these things where when we were little for family study, we had to cut out articles and we glued them over the pages of our storybooks. And the reason was was that when the Gestapo came to drag us all to the concentration camps, that we would smuggle the literature in that way.
Yeah. We were hiding literature in the walls. And if you're a printing company, MLM, what they sell most to the people who distribute it.
They're
so if you talk to the distributor, they will say, ask them, how much money did you make? And they will always say, well, I didn't make money, but I have $100,000 worth of product in my garage. Because they basically sell to you. So when Watchtower said that we should bury literature in the forest and buy new, and we should bury that in the garden and buy new, they were basically just asking us to buy more product.
So my grandparents came into the religion when they were children. So their parents came in, or at least one of each of their parents came in, and then they raised generations of us in. And when they passed away and I had to clean out their house, I kid you not, I threw out 4 30 cubic yard dumpsters. 4. One of them was nothing but Watchtower literature. And
How many cubic?
30.
Metric cubic or?
I don't know. They just said 30 cubic yards.
Oh, okay. Imperial measurements then.
I'm in America, so yeah. It was massive. It was the size of a single wide trailer. Okay, full of nothing but bound volumes and every stuff they didn't even have. They didn't have a CD player or a computer to watch a DVD-ROM or whatever, but they had all of those. Everything that ever got made by Watchtower, they had in triplicate.
Yeah.
It's
insane.
a
printing company.
Bruce and Robin For those that are not in the know, when I say Bruce and Robin, I'm talking about my biological birth units. I do not call them mom and dad. In my youth, Bruce and Robin moved a lot, and they had a massive sized watchtower library that was so old that some of their oldest stuff was like individual magazines from the 50s that they had put into kind of like a letterbox kind of holder, and then I don't know, somewhere along the line they started having the bound volumes, and they kept these bound volumes, like, because we moved so much and whatnot, they tended not to unpack the entire watchtower library in each house, so that the last house that I ever lived in with them, the basement was unfinished, and that's where my brother and I had our bedrooms, and the wall between our two bedrooms was composed partly of a spare closet door, a filing cabinet, a pantry, and then stacks of boxes of watchtower literature. That was the wall between our bedrooms. And they never bothered to unpack these things, nor did they have a bookshelf to put them on. Oh, that would be fun. That would have been
Someone
fun.
in the comments asked to see the cat. He wants to get down now, but this is magic. Now you've seen him.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, like they kept all of that stuff, and for what? And especially once the Watchtower CD-ROM came out, they were still hoarding these books, and I'm pretty sure they still have them. Some people are even like hoarding books like from the 30s, where you had like Rutherford's name on the inside cover as the writer, and still hoarding is like, we can't throw this out. This is spiritual food. It's like, this is so-called spiritual food that's been denounced even by Watchtower standards. So, I mean, what are you saving it for? To burn as fuel when the Great Tribulation comes?
Well, I will say I have those old books, and I have a set of the records and the phonograph machine and all that stuff. I saved that old crap because there's tons of material for videos in there. I mean, so much to look at.
I'm into that.
So much. So I kept a lot of stuff. I mean, I have a very large workshop in my basement, and I have tons and tons and tons of some pretty rare stuff. But I didn't need it in triplicate. Good Lord, why would anybody ever need that much crap? It's just repetitive. It's the same thing over and over and over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So let's see. We have to move on here.
Should have been a last in, first out kind of system for those books.
Yeah, right?
Or first in, last out.
This is a beautiful tool.
No, since he was talking about that Noah did not have an organization, he obviously managed good without an organization, but he should really have this.
Noah did not
Look at that saw.
And I know he didn't have it, because if he would have built the ark, he would be a really skilled carpenter, and his kids would be really skilled carpenters. So when they go out from the ark and to conquer the world, they would teach their kids carpentry, and they would show them how to make these tools. And human beings would have had these tools since Noah. But this is actually a quite recent invention, a cool saw that actually works without wedges. You can also Google that. Wikipedia, see the history of saws. So, if I was allowed to be Noah using this, I could take down maybe for an hour. And if you gave me 100 years and free diesel, maybe I could build an ark. You do the math. You do you. But it's interesting. This is also a cool tool. No, I didn't have this. He had a strong wife. So,
what do you use that for?
to lift stuff.
I can't wait to visit those woods.
Yeah.
I cannot wait.
If you look at the evolution of saw, the tool saw, the old ones, they would look like this. So when you would saw, you would have to use wedges to remove so the saw could go further in. So the modern saw, they look like this. So they make a bigger incision than the actual steel. And that's a new invention. So he did not even have a saw to make this ark. Only had the machetes.
How did they get the wood so nice and like? Because you mentioned the idea that they would have been like a log cabin if you're just cutting down trees. But how did he get the wood so uniform that the ark was just perfectly flat?
It's impossible without a saw.
Yeah.
You can cut it with an axe, but he didn't have an axe either. He had a machete thing.
Yeah. Like I can't fathom that. I mean, like.
Well, if we want to be like total literalists, you know, when we're talking about the pictures and stuff that were in the Bible storybook, we could also look at the picture from the flood, because in that one, if I'm not mistaken, the ark is built out of milled planks.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a whole nother level of technology they did not have. There's a question in the comments about the cat. I love the cat. So Lisa, for truth, the cat is a Maine Coon. That's enough cat. Just had to answer the question.
Yeah.
Loyal Tangi says beavers. Maybe they use the beavers to cut the trees.
Are you saying they had spirit-directed beavers?
That could have worked. But the thing is, if you see these milled planks they use, that they will always curve. They will. It's 100% certain they will. And then if you use asphalt to you have holes everywhere. Mm-hmm. And we built some really big Viking ships here locally in the good old days. And as soon as they got over a certain size, they couldn't nail them together. They were actually sewing them together so they could be flexible and move in the sea. Because otherwise they would break. So they were kind of flexible, and from what I heard. Anyway, a boat like that would, if you look at firewood, you see it cracks, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
well, they couldn't make pressure treated lumber or like any kind of thing like that. I mean, oh my gosh, Punished Berserker says you're all wrong. Noah 3D printed the ark. I love it. So there's another. Oh, here, you just put it up there. We're a bunch of whiny parent haters. I don't know what that means. Can you explain? Like, what do you mean? I mean, I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. Right.
Well, I don't hate my parents. I feel sorry for them. So, GIF, say something. He's not hearing us. So.
Okay, I had to unmute myself. Hello there.
Hello.
Sorry, we're chasing our chicken.
Okay, I'm just going to.
This is what's currently happening right now.
Oh, like an actual chicken.
Yeah, that's our onboard chicken. She's but she doesn't want to go inside, so she's running everywhere right now. So I'm recording them.
Have you tried prayer?
I had to get this. We got her. There she is. She's stubborn right now. There she is.
Excitement, man.
Put her in the camera.
Who's fighting her?
Can I see it?
We got Claudette, finally.
Oh my God.
Sorry,
That's good. Let's see what the governing body has to say here.
He knew what happened in the Garden of Eden, and he could see the tragic results. He saw that people grew old and died. He knew that the way to the Garden of Eden was barred, and the ground outside had been cursed. He understood what his great-grandfather Enoch had foretold. And Noah knew that his father Lamech had given him a name, likely meaning rest or consolation, because he would, as his father foretold, bring us comfort from our labor and from the painful toil of our hands because of the ground that Jehovah has cursed. Surely Noah wondered about these prophecies. How would he bring comfort? How and when would God act against the wicked ones who surrounded him? For hundreds of years, Noah prayed and he wondered. By the time he had lived well over 500 years, he had married and had a family, 3 sons. Though he lived in a wicked world, Noah remained faithful to God, and he helped his family to do the same.
500 years and he only had 3 kids. I call bullshit.
Well,
they didn't have contraception back then.
You would think that he would want to breed a labor force for himself.
I mean, I'm just saying.
He got 500 years, no kids, then 3 kids, and then 100 years with no kids and his kids. And then they populated the earth.
Right, yeah. You know, it's hard for me to pay attention when Tony's talking now because all I can see is the chin wobble. Have you noticed, that?
Oh, man. It's like watching Jabba the Hutt preach to you.
As for me, I am going to bring floodwaters upon the earth.
I am going to bring floodwaters on the earth.
All flesh that has the
Timber.
breath of life. Everything on the earth will perish. And I am establishing my covenant with you. And you must go into the ark. You, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you. And bring into the ark 2 of every sort of living creature, in order to preserve them alive with you, a male and a female, of the flying creatures according to their kinds, the domestic animals according to their kinds, and all creeping animals of the ground according to their kinds. 2 of each will go in there to you to preserve them alive. For your part, you are to collect and take with you every kind of food to eat, to serve as food for you and for the animals.
Oh my God, I love your goats.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Right.
Well,
Wow.
my point is when they do this narrative that God should kill everything, and you just show pictures of reality that it's not as bad as Watchtower want. It just sounds unreasonable to kill all the animals.
You know, they're always so busy talking about how goats just represent stubbornness and evil and wickedness and everything else. But I saw like some prior footage where, like, as you were walking, they were all following you as if they were like sheep.
Yep.
So where's that stubbornness that they're talking about?
They're adorable. Come on.
In your video
Right.
where you were talking about the overlapping generations and you were picking up one goat and putting it on top of another, and you did that like multiple times, I kept expecting, like, I thought goats were stubborn. Like, why aren't they fighting or fighting back or something? And it's like, no, I'm good. You know, I don't know what you're doing, putting me on top of my brother, but all right. You know, like,
It's a
the most
stack of goats.
compliant
All right.
animal ever. And like, no, these goats are terrible. Like,
Yeah, it's Rutherford came up with this idea about, well, it's in the Bible, you know, separate goat from the sheep. But, you know, they take too much into it. And if you see the Watchtower propaganda, like if you see Esau and Jacob is playing with sheep, Esau is playing with goats. That's obviously something they put into there. It's not in the Bible and all. And I love to say this to Christians. All Christians, not only Jehovah Witnesses, hate me when I say it, that goat is a symbol of Jesus. You had a scapegoat.
Yep.
Nice. Well played.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if we would do this really complicated now, so what they did was they had 2 goats, and one of them where they put all the sins of the people and let him run away, while the other one got the sin of people and be executed. So there were 2 goats. And if you think about the Bible, I don't really believe in the Bible, but there was a guy called Barabbas, and Barabbas means son of God. And in some translation, he was called Jesus Barabbas. So then what they had was that they had one goat, Jesus Barabbas, that was let go, and one that was executed. And that's a really good thing in the Bible that makes sense from a nonsensical part. But, you know, it absolutely does not fit the Witnesses narrative that goats are evil. But goats are actually a symbol of Jesus, and Barabbas was also a symbol of Jesus, the murderer that was let loose. Little digression here.
I'm reading the comments just like mystified. I'm mystified.
I'm scapegoat.
Do you ever read people's comments and just go, I have no idea what we're talking about right now? I'm having a moment.
Yeah. I'm having a moment with the comment that's up right now. Just say what now?
We're going to go through Christ. Does that mean like he has to eat us and we have to pass all the way through? Or
wait, and by saving, do we get 20% off or 15%?
Okay, pay any price says referring to your mom as insane, childish. No, baby, you didn't know my mama. You didn't know my mama.
Wow. Referring to your mom as insane. Well, yeah, my mom was pretty insane too.
Yeah.
I love her though. I mean, I can call myself insane, actually, you know. I was pretty insane when I was a Jehovah's Witness.
I think that there are people who don't understand like jokes and humor and like.
Okay.
Like, we don't really think that Noah 3D printed the ark, guys. You know that, right?
Yeah, right. But the aliens did come down and 3D print it for him.
Jonas, can we just go back to my ex-Jehovah's Witness reflections comment here? This is brilliant. Yes. Bravo on this comment. Bravo. Like, I think that deserves a round of applause, personally. Like,
yes, it does.
Yeah. Yeah, that really does.
So I have to pick on Pay Any Price one more time, who says folks do have real mental disorders. Yes, darling, that's what I meant when I said my mother was slightly insane. She did have real diagnosed mental disorders. Okay, I know.
Yes.
Just had to say that.
And it's just so amazing because people, instead of being transparent and enter into a dialogue and conversation, they want to go on an attack. They can't see the humor of things, but it's okay. We do, but you know, if you can't, you know, we're over here, you know, we're laughing about it. You know, we have to laugh about it. So that's my spiel.
Yeah. Let's see what the faithful discreet slave has.
Noah had long wondered how Jehovah would act against an ungodly world.
Because he was there, he would have known.
That's my point.
And how does Tony know?
They do this daily with the spirit of Noah or something. Is that like
McAllen told him?
Because as a witness, we used to say that everything was based on the Bible. But when you look at this, he was telling all this stuff that's not, I don't believe in the Bible, but all this stuff that's just they jamming into the situation.
Is Tony, like, as I watched this in preparation for this live stream, I did not feel like Tony brought anything valuable between the readings. It was basically like, we'll spend an equal amount of time listening to the reading and looking at some pictures, and then Tony was like, so for those of you in the back, allow me to repeat all that for you.
Oh, no, dear. I know much more about scripture than I want to talk about. It's just that I'm so sick of scripture that I can vomit. Okay.
If I'm going to choose between two fiction stories, I'll take the Marvel Comics. Thanks.
Right. Thank you. They're much more interesting, and not to mention more ethical and moral.
A catastrophic flood would cleanse the earth. Noah also knew what he and his family must do. So much depended on him. The thought must have been overwhelming. The ark would be gigantic, Now, new questions occupied his mind. Trees. A great many trees would have to be felled and the timber hauled, shaped, and joined.
Using
How
a
would
herring.
he do that? How would he gather so many kinds of animals? How would he get food supplies for the animals and for his family? And what about the godless people around him? What would they think? No one knew what had happened to the righteous men who preceded him. Abel had been killed by his brother Cain, and Enoch likely was in such danger of being slain by ungodly ones that God mercifully cut his life short so that he wouldn't fall into their hands.
Yeah. So Enoch was mercifully killed by Jehovah.
Merciful. It's a mercy killing. Mercy, mercy, mercy.
Bam.
See,
And he
I just
got
have a
that
scene.
wrong.
I just have a scene from the Rocky Horror Picture Show coming to mind right after Frankfurter kills Eddie, and Rocky's looking at him. And he's like, "Don't look so upset. It was a mercy killing. He lacked a certain naive charm." Like, oh. See, I'm painting Jehovah with Frankenfurter's makeup job. Sorry.
Yeah. Witnesses are against mercy killing of human beings, but God committed a mercy killing to protect Enoch from being killed.
I would disagree. They're not against mercy killing. Actually, if they could get away with it, they do lots of killing.
They put all of us to death.
You know, I actually remember a Watchtower study. It was in the same year that I got baptized. It was probably a couple of months after my baptism. And the article had in a paragraph, of course, we cannot, in this day and age, we cannot actually stone the apostates to death, but we should hate them that way or something to that effect. And I remember thinking, I'm not sure I agree with that. I mean, and I was baptized at 11, so I had just turned 12 when this article came out, and I remember it because I was like, hold up. And that was the very first thing, and it was years before I actually thought more about it enough to actually leave. But that was the first thing I can remember that I was like, wait. And so I don't think that they're against killing at all. I just think that they're pacifists and they don't want to go to jail.
If it was legal, they would do it.
Yes, exactly.
He misquoted that in the first place. He misquoted that in the first place because, first of all, I mean, the Bible says that he was taken away like in a UFO ship or something. But it doesn't say that he was like killed. So he misquoted that.
Yeah, but witnesses don't believe in heaven, and it says a place that no one went to heaven except the Son of Man. So that's why they say Enoch cannot have gone to heaven. So he was just taken away, mercifully killed.
Whatever, Jabba the Hutt, not you.
So if that's the case, like, okay, so Enoch was supposedly taken as the 1987 drama, they phrased it how did Noah phrase it? He was taken before his natural time. And this was supposed to be a mercy. And we were always told that this is God's way of being like, well, look, you're going to get ripped apart by the Nephilim if I don't do something. So rather than get rid of the Nephilim and all of these people causing trouble, I'm just going to put you out of your misery there, Enoch. You done good. Now go to sleep. But if that's the case, then what? Are you saying that Noah wasn't deserving of mercy? No, Noah, I'm going to use you to set a pattern of all of the building projects to come.
Oh, God. Wait. Aliens don't exist, but Jesus does? Come on.
Good point. let's see here. What happened?
It took a long time for Noah's family to build the ark, perhaps some
bamboo.
40 or 50 years. There must have been challenges, but we never read that Noah complained. The family had no support from others. Remember that Jesus said that the people took no note until the flood came and swept them all away. Of course, people took note that Noah was building an ark. His neighbors must have asked him why he was building such an enormous structure. And Noah explained to them why he was building it. But Noah's contemporaries took no note that Jehovah was blessing Noah and his construction efforts. They took no note of what this would mean for them. Instead, the people were caught up in everyday affairs.
I just want to show here because this is how the worldly people look, and
Eating, drinking, and
and
marrying.
you have the evil
Those
kids.
were the things that concerned them. To those godless people, Noah and his family were fools, crackpots. They were the butt of ridicule, jeers, and probably threats.
Probably. Evidently, most likely, probably.
Because we say so.
Where'd they get the bamboo from?
It was specially imported.
Oops, I did it again. Okay.
Yeah, so
I
they
gotta
worked
stop
on
looking at the comments.
they worked on this ark for 50 years, right? But they were just sawing down trees, and like they didn't have any specially treated lumber or anything. So if 50 years on the same project, wouldn't some of the wood have already rotted? Like they didn't have climate control, so they couldn't like keep it from being rained on and bugs and termites and whatever. Like this is totally ridiculous.
See, Bridget, you just brought up
Thank you.
something really interesting.
They use petrified wood.
Okay. And they cut it with that herring that they that he had for a tool.
Well, actually, you bring up a really good point. Like, okay, so the Genesis account claims that until the flood, it had never rained. It was always a mist that went up from the earth that watered everything, which I'm just going to hang that one on the rack for a minute. But okay, so if it was a mist that went up from the earth every day, and that was enough to keep everything properly moisturized and whatever crops or that they were trying to cultivate, that means, because like, okay, the house that I live in is 36 years old. In the winter time, because the house is like shifted and settled and everything else, in the winter time, the closet door in my other studio, in my office / editing room studio, will not stay closed. It just bows outward. And it will only actually stay flat in the summertime just because of the way that the house is. The same is true for some of the doors. They're harder to open because of the way that the house twists due to its age. So, and that's like a house with a concrete foundation. So this ark that was sitting on the ground like 50 or longer years construction, this mist that comes up every morning, the wood on the bottom would just rot in no time.
It would be mulch.
Yeah.
Mulch.
In no time flat. Like,
Okay, so y'all, I am being hailed from my family in there. They are telling me that it is time to eat dinner. I would like to shout out to Mr. Pfister for procuring the hunting and gathering the Cheesecake Factory for dinner. So I'm gonna go eat it.
Yeah.
This has been so much fun. Thank you all for letting me be on here. It's great to see everybody.
And say the name of your channel.
Oh, yeah, check me out. I'm Bridget Pfister, otherwise known as Sister Pfister. And come over, check out my channel. I talk about some really fun and interesting topics. Please wear headphones.
Yeah.
Bye, Bridget.
Bye.
So, talking about the wooden thing, because this is something I know. If you build a log house and you make these really beautiful joints, and if you do it the classical way, when the house just sink together, a log house will sink 10% the first 2 years. So you do it very carefully, and it just become tighter and tighter and tighter. But you really need to know what you're doing. If you put in windows and then it sink, the window will be destroyed. But you basically make it so it will sink like this and just be tighter and more airtight. But you need wood that's 100% dry. If you make it with fresh wood, like straight from the forest, then when it dries, it became big glitches. So you can't do that. So the problem now, if Noah would use fresh wood, and then as soon as he starts building up and they put on a roof, it starts drying, and then it opens up. Because normally, even if you have a really, really small wooden boat with no movements, it's just 4 meters, even if you put it in the spring out into the lake, it will sink straight down. You have to put it in the lake for 1 week so the wood can track water and kind of swollen up, and then you can go out fishing.
So is it possible then that the ark, again, just folks, I'm always saying, like, taking this at face value. Yay, Dan!
Yeah, thank you. I'm using the paid version of StreamYard, so it cost me money, and I had to spend 2 days editing this. So thank you.
Is it possible? Is it possible that the ark potentially, like, after like all of the weight and everything that would have been put into it, like just the weight of the structure itself, then all of the supplies, then the animals as well, that it could have sunk so much into the ground that when the flood would have come, you would think that something like that might be suctioned to the ground. Because again, according to the biblical account, the mist is coming up from the ground, which means the ground is always moisturized. And that means more sinking, more compression until it's just stuck. And then when the water comes, the ark is just not moving. Like, that would mean that the water has to get under the ark to make it lift off from the ground that it is suctioned to.
Yeah. And the thing with the flood, because the Bible don't say that this is a miracle, it was Noah who built it. But no one told him about the gas. No one told him how it's a real, if this would have worked, it would be, the state of the art ingenuity. Where do we put water? How do we remove crap? And how do we remove the gas? How do we keep work light so we can see what we're doing when we're feeding 6 million animals every day? It would be,
and try to avoid burning down the ark in the process.
Yeah, the destruction is just a big box. And even if he would do everything right, if there were 1,000 carpenters doing everything right, you would still need pumps to constantly remove water. You would need at least 20 pumps, and pumps didn't exist, and God didn't tell about it. So I'm pretty sure this story is not true. What do you think?
Now, some apologists will say, like, well, Jehovah or God, like whatever version of this God of the Bible you want to believe in, would have looked after all of that supernaturally. So again, I'm going to just throw this out there, for God, nothing is impossible. Again, if all of this miracles were necessary to make this project actually work, then why this project? Why not just, again, snap your fingers, get her done, move on? Why do you have to kill and maim and ruin everything to make it happen? Unless, of course, this story is made up and just passed around through the annals of history.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been studying some of the science behind the flood, and then comparing it with, I guess, the science of our day now. There's some interesting stuff behind it. There's a lot of questions, though, that are still there. But, when you first, like, I started reading the Bible because when I first left once I left Jehovah's Witnesses, I was kind of done with the Bible. But then, me being a scientific type of person and a historical type of person, I started looking back into the Bible, and it was like the first chapter. I was like, what is the firmament? and I started like studying the firmament. So then there was like more science behind it. But it's just interesting points. I mean, at the same time, then the twist and the way they twist everything up, and the story behind it, and the questions behind why would he do it that way. Yeah, those are good questions as well.
Even what Elijah Jehovah is trying to claim in the comments there, Noah knew all of that. Please, that's such a circular logical fallacy. Like, do better. I'm sorry, but no.
Right in the bottom.
You know, Noah knew. Like
in the comments about the 3D printing of the ark, so clearly the pyramids were the same, right? They just followed like different dimensions.
I like the fact that they started building the pyramids, then everyone on the planet died, and then they started building them again.
Exactly.
So let's see what the faithful and discreet slave has to say.
For in just 7 days I will make it rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and I will wipe from the surface of the ground every living thing that I have made.
Then Noah did everything that Jehovah had commanded him.
There was no time to lose. There was urgent work to do. In 7 days, the rains would come. Animals, many animals, had to be situated in the ark. Supplies had to be secured. Noah listened, and he obeyed. For the second time in this inspired account, we are told that Noah did all that he was commanded to do.
Yeah. I think that's the whole point of the story, because they start emphasizing this more and more, that they did whatever they was told to do, and they did not ask the questions. They didn't know about this. They didn't know about that. They're starting more and more emphasizing that doesn't matter if it makes sense. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Otherwise, you will die. And the funny thing I noticed, so they play all this music, like wah, 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 terrible music, stressful music, scary music, and they start mixing this more and more. So in the end, they play ominous music when they talk about paradise. And it's kind of fractionation, they call in hypnosis, that they basically train you to just skip from one mood to another. So in the end, you don't really know when you're hypnotized or not.
this is editing 101 from film school that they've taught us, is that, like, you know, music and what you're seeing on screen, they can be cunningly used to create a mood and manipulate you. The Russians knew this way back in the day when they started exploring montage. Think about what's that movie? Battleship Potemkin, I think. The famous scene with the Odessa steps and the baby going down and whatnot. They knew, like, they knew how to put image and sound and music together to pull at the strings in your mind and heart that they wanted to. And this is something that is, like, it's so basic for editing to do. I mean, you watch a television show, you just listen to a podcast, and when the editor wants you to feel something, they just pull the string. They put on the right music, they color grade something a certain way to make you feel a certain way. This is Watchtower just pulling from the same playbook that everybody else does. Unfortunately, their content is so horrendously toxic. They have the same playbook open to them as any movie maker has, but you can make a story that is worth telling. You can make content that actually, like, uplifts and advances society forward, or you can do what Watchtower's doing.
Yeah. I can give you one example. When Anthony Morris speaks and he's sitting in his chair and there's a blue background, and later you will see him talk about really sad about all the worldly people die, and they had this violin. Woo! Like, okay, I say nice things about the Witnesses, but I don't like Anthony Morris, and he's not sad about killing people. You know, I think he likes it. But anyway, when he talks about earlier, we saw it earlier, and I've been watching this like 100 times. So, but when he talks about people leaving Jehovah and they left Jehovah, there is a noise in the background with two swords clicking, clashing, and it has nothing to do with it. It's just a subliminal thing. Like leaving Jehovah means that you start killing people, and he's reading from the Bible, and someone sitting in think, okay, so every time he used the word leave Jehovah, we put in a subliminal reference to violence. Someone screaming, swords, the clicking, clashing of swords. It is very manipulative. And if you're a Jehovah Witness watching this, it should not be necessary, if it was the truth, to use such propaganda techniques. If it's the truth, you can just tell the truth, that God don't like violence, so he will kill all the babies.
Not to mention, and I hate to make light of this, but if anybody's watching this later on the replay after this is live, if you want to like go back to that, just rewind a little bit, it kind of sounds like Pirates of the Caribbean. Did anybody else get that vibe? Like at the end, there was definitely some Pirates of the Caribbean stuff going on.
At one point, I swore, I think it was when he was reading in chapter 7, that I thought I heard the Angry Birds theme music.
No,
I'm not kidding. I like that sounds like the Angry Birds themes.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Let's see what they say now.
If Noah had wondered how he would collect all those animals, he now knew. They would come to him. Jehovah would bring them. Noah didn't have to go looking for them. The animals did come. Every kind of animal. Some by sevens.
Oh my God, you're right.
And some by twos.
Darby
Just
animals.
Dozens and dozens of animals strutting, hopping, slithering, and waddling into the ark. We can imagine Noah's family finding places for them all, stroking the soft fur of some animals as they passed, while
Can I just pause here and look at the kangaroo here? He's waiting for his wife. He's alone. That is correct. I've been to Australia. You have to wait for Australian women. He's standing there waiting.
avoiding the rough hides or spines of others and making sure to get out of the way of the large animals as they lumbered past. The birds came too, fluttering, soaring. What colors, what smells, what sounds. Noah and his family must have shouted to hear one another above the din.
Yeah. Isn't that great?
Oh no, Tony, don't worry. They wouldn't have had to shout to hear about the animals. Jehovah silenced all of them.
And be a good lad and clean up that elephant poop while you're at it.
Don't worry about the poop. The dung beetles he collected will roll that out for you.
Oh.
But this is technically New Light. Because they
is New Light. I had no idea.
Animals. And now they're making it more plausible by saying that God collected animals.
There was something. I remember one young man in the last congregation that I was in, wound up being an elder. He kind of had a sort of a Drew Barrymore kind of attitude to her, like, wow, like that kind of, this is so magical. It was when, one of the many times when the congregation started the Bible reading from the beginning again. And he was, talking about the flood. He actually talked about the idea, like, imagine being Noah and all of these animals are coming to you. Wow. Owen Wilson, eat your heart out. Wow. Yeah. And that was about 10 years ago.
But question, do you think
I'm gonna ride that zebra like right now?
If you think about it, so they tried to make it more plausible that God collected all the animals. Noah only had to build one of the most complicated stuff on the planet, even though he couldn't do it. But God collected animal, but it doesn't really solve anything, because that means that Noah didn't know that giraffe existed before the giraffe came. And Noah didn't know the koala existed before the koala. So Noah had, okay, so this is the koala cage. This is the giraffe cage. And so Noah did not have to go to Australia to get the koala. But he still had to get the food. And koalas eat only eucalyptus leaf.
I'm even thinking about the giraffes in the ark, like with how tall they are and everything. If the ark was 3 stories tall, you would have this one narrow space for the giraffe. Does that mean that for the over 1 year and whatnot that they were on the ark, that perhaps the giraffe only had a neck space of about 10 square feet to move in? Like,
that's cruelty to animals.
Yeah, that is such animal cruelty. And that's just the giraffe. Like, how about the elephants? I mean, here in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, we have an elephant named Lucy who is really up in years. She has an enormous living space, both indoors and outdoors. And people complain that, like, oh, well, and her name is Lucy. Lucy in the zoo, that's animal cruelty. And that's like, she has this huge living space inside and outside and is cared for and whatnot. So these same people that want to say that this elephant is being treated cruelly with that wide open living space, they're fine with 2, if not 7 elephants, because remember, 7 of the unclean kind. I don't know where elephants fall in that classification, but somehow that's perfectly fine.
I have to get going here in a little bit. Sorry to interrupt, but we just got settled we just got to our spot, and now we have to keep setting up and get ready for tomorrow. It's going to be a big day.
Okay, so really fast, because it's off topic, but where are you now, Gifford, and what are you doing?
Right now, we are off of the Carolina coast. We're at let me give you a perspective. So we had to find a campground to come to here. So this is kind of like we open the curtain this way. Okay, there we go. So that's kind of a perspective of our view right now. We're heading to Atlanta, and then I almost dropped the light. Okay, we're heading to Atlanta. Then we're gonna go to either Florida or New York. But then remember, with the tune-in, we've got to go to DC also. So we have some really cool interviews set up in Atlanta coming. We're doing a live feed, and I would like to actually have you on our live here real soon. I'm gonna have Summer talk to you. But we're actually going to interview one of the ladies that we just ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that we just interviewed. That's actually Kelly's best friend from kindergarten. Yay! So they got reunited, and now best friends are reunited. And Danielle and Kelly, Summer, myself, and Trevor don't. And Trevor will be on the live, and we're going to be giving updates. But right now things are going great. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work being on the road. I mean, it's constant. You're always doing something. You always got to be cleaning. You always got to be organized. There's like one cable that I've been looking for all day long, and it's somewhere in this bus, and I know it is, but we have not found it yet. So it's like, right. Well, in watching the clothes, we're just now watching our clothes for the first time. How long has it been? 2 weeks. We haven't washed our clothes in 2 weeks. Some of them, yeah, because we've been on the road so much. But I mean, it's an adventure. I mean, it's worth it. There's just so much. There's so much going on, and I'm enjoying this journey for everyone. I mean, the message is getting out. I feel like I'm talking a lot, but I just feel like I don't know.
Off topic, so we can talk about it later.
Yeah, okay. That'd be
the
cool.
project.
I like it.
But
I
you're in
got work to do
California now
anyway.
and doing interviews. You're in
I'm
California
sorry?
doing interviews. You are in California.
No,
doing
no.
interviews.
I'm on the East Coast.
Yeah.
No, I'm on the East Coast.
Yeah,
Carolinas.
Carolinas, yes. So
Carolina coast. We're heading to Atlanta, and then we're heading to Florida, and then we got to go back up north to DC, then to New York, and then after that, we'll be done with all of the states on the East Coast, and then heading west, young man, to the Goat.
And then you'll come to Canada.
Yeah, and Norway.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Actually, Jen, she's from Canada, and they're definitely Norway, but we might make a stop by the border in Canada before we go overseas. Not sure yet, but we're still trying to chart that out for sure. I'm trying to catch a cargo ship across sea. I don't want to do it traditional.
So we have to continue with the
captain of a cargo ship and interview him to get overseas to Norway.
Yeah. We have to continue with the spiritual banquet here that's been provided by the fruitful and discreet slave. So
bye everyone.
Say hello to everyone.
When all were inside, Jehovah shut the door. Can you picture the family huddling together inside the ark, listening, straining to hear? Then it came.
I see 3 fire hazards.
Perhaps it began almost imperceptibly, but soon it came in torrents. The sound was deafening. What they had long anticipated was now happening. They were tired, exhausted, but there was likely little sleep that night.
Yeah. So this is the new light, I think. So I think this is what they want to have, like the new light, that we should hide in. This is a very clean barn, by the way. But I think this is the new light, that the preaching work is done and Jehovah closed the ark. And now we should just be willing to waste our time waiting. And the fact that it doesn't make any sense is the point, because you're stupid, God is great, and the governing body talk to Jehovah. So they make more and more points about being willing to wait. Don't think for yourself. Just have faith. Just have faith. Just have faith. What do you think?
I think that's a really interesting thought. I mean, like, we were always told that deep into the Great Tribulation that the preaching work was going to be continuing on, and that the preaching work of like a righteous new order would change. You remember like the concept of like the hailstone message, that it would change to like, well, now you're all screwed and you're all going to die because we told you so. But yeah, like this idea, like, yeah, just go inside and wait, and eventually Floodageddon comes. That's what they're pointing out here.
They need a good excuse for stopping the preaching work. The preaching work is not paying anymore. They used to sell literature and make profit.
Well, and now it's just business cards and little one-page half-fold like bifolds that they're doing, and they're writing letters. Like I finally received my letter. I think it was last week or the week before, and it was a handwritten letter with a PO box as the return address. And it was the "Will Suffering Ever End" bifold one pager, which is more blank space than it is actual food. And it's like, yeah, just go to the website. If you're out on the street and they're doing their informal witnessing, like, they might have the cart, but more often than not, they're just passing you a business card with the Borg website on it, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like it's such an electric church now. Germ from the Mentally Diseased channel, when he found out about Caleb and Sophia, he said, like, I don't even recognize this anymore. Like, what in the world is going on? When I think now about like all of the videos and everything else, and they cut back so much on the literature to even the point where what was it, for the last couple of years it's been like 3 issues of the Watchtower and 3 issues of the Awake for the public, and each one is only 16 pages. Where's this abundant spiritual food that they're talking about? I mean, if they're worried about saving paper, okay, kudos, because paper is worth more than your stupid message. But like in a world of broadband, you don't also have to save on kilobytes for your PDF files. But yeah.
What do you think, Shesa?
Can I add the question one more time? Because I just popped back in here. I know it was kind of about the transformation.
If you look at this picture, because they're why would they pick and talk about the flood? The flood is the thing that might wake people up and they see this is just bullshit. So normally people will just try to mention the flood and move on, but he goes into details and show him with a tool in the forest and stuff like that. But I think they are kind of changing, preparing, because when you see Jehovah Witnesses, when they change the light, the new light doctrine, they don't spring it like this. They kind of sneak it in. And this looks like family worship. They are sitting where they live, and there's no logic reason why they should be sitting here. It doesn't make any sense. But they trust in Jehovah, and they do what the non-existing organization is. They repeat over and again, they were following direction. So it seems to me like, I said it a long time, I think they're moving in the direction of becoming the Plymouth Brethren. The Plymouth Brethren is like a religion like the Jehovah Witnesses, a lot of weird rules, live in normal society, but they're isolated. They have a firewall to protect them from the internet, and they go to the hall, not the church, the hall 7 days a week. And they can't have worldly friends. Because then you have this business model that you keep. You don't lose members. You don't gain new ones. That's why they refer to themselves as the exclusive brethren. So if they take this, that the preaching work is done, Jehovah has closed the door to the ark. I think that's what they're aiming for, the new light.
So I have a family member, and we don't really associate often, but I get to see them every now and again just due to family stuff. And sometimes I'll overhear their service arrangements. And so it was really interesting because a couple weeks ago, they were having a service arrangement, and it kind of had to do with the subject of getting the Kingdom Hall back up and running. And a lot of the people on the Zoom meeting were saying that they were excited for the Kingdom Halls to reopen. And then my family member was the one that jumped in, actually surprisingly to me, and was like, no, I really think that they won't open them at all. I think they'll be closed for good. And just seeing that kind of dissonance, like even in that Zoom meeting for that service meeting was interesting to me. You have a lot of people who are old timers who have been here for a long time, and to have this kind of social shift, I was used to going to the Kingdom Hall 5 days a week, if not 7. I was used to being around, my brothers and sisters every single day. So not having that for the longest time, and then seeing them not open up as much, and seeing them bring in kind of, like you said, a sneak attack. You can't throw a frog into boiling water, right? You have to put a frog in water and slowly turn up the heat. So as far as them changing doctrine is concerned, if they do move into a more electronic church mindset, it's probably going to be through stuff like this, and making people more secular and kind of family oriented in a way where it's through their family, but they still get the direction from the computer. I don't know. It's a really weird dynamic right now as far as New Age.
It begs the question, like, really, what are the rank and file paying for now? Again, I'm going to go back to JW Broadcasting of May of 2015. Rubberface Let says that, we need all of this money for the colossal preaching work to be done. But like, they're not placing any literature anymore. It's all online. There's a massive cost savings there. Like, let's face it, it is pennies to download a PDF or an MP3 of something, as opposed to what it would cost to print it. So yeah, you don't need the printing press. All you need is just upload the document, and it's there.
Definitely. And they sold that Watchtower property in near Brooklyn, and they moved out to Watchtower Farms, right, in Wallkill or Tuxedo or whatever. And ever since then, they moved from the printing press where they were working to now it's pretty much all the media departments, that new building they're building, right? I don't know what the latest is on that because I've been out of the game for a little bit, but just seeing that kind of financial shift from them, especially, yeah, it's very interesting.
Is that media facility, and this is something that like I partly say tongue in cheek, but also I'm going to ask it as a serious question. Is the media center actually some kind of panic room, escape room, like panic room bomb bunker, like what they depicted in the videos?
Well, it's really
and not just a media room. Like yes, a backlot for a production studio needs to be large. You do need a lot of room for equipment and the lighting grid and everything else. Like I won't deny that. But I mean, is it really for media, or is it also partly we need a bomb shelter and an escape hatch when they come for us at Wallkill?
I still don't know what happened to the tunnels that were underneath the old Watchtower property. Remember they had the tunnels underneath where they would take stuff back and forth. But I do know that I think there's a building in Argentina that they own, and there's an entire wing that's just unnamed. They don't have, you can get the building schematics, you can see like the building schematics, but there's no like information on what this entire wing of this building is for. And I have the feeling it's similar with the media facility. I think whether it's for housing and storing or whatever else, there was no reason for them to build those tunnels underneath the Brooklyn location. So whatever they're doing at their location now, I have no idea. I really have no idea. But I know a lot of the money is going towards that, as well as the lawsuits, that has a lot to do with it too.
Didn't they mention? Sorry.
Yeah, I heard that in Warwick they build like underground. So I heard from Bethelites that they were looking for professionals that had experience with construction, like structural construction. So I used to work for Watchtower construction, and we would always knew what the Watchtower was doing because they would ask for roofers or they would ask for bricklayers. So that's a good way of knowing what they're doing. Because you hear what they ask for, and they were searching for engineers with structural things, and not only the normal thing. And then I heard, I never checked it, but this would be public, I think, in the state of New York, that they build fresh water tanks under Warwick. If that's true, that's a bunker, because they're by a lake. You don't need a fresh water supply when you're by a lake. You need a filter and a pump. That you can buy it in any farm store. You start with diesel, and it will pump water from the lake, and it runs through a filter that removes everything. It's very cheap. So you don't have to have a underground water supply when you live close to a lake. So if that's true, then they're building a bunker. Do I care? Absolutely not, because it's just living. Let's see what the governing body have to say here to move on.
Did their thoughts turn to those outside? Certainly. They knew those people and had preached to them. Many were relatives. How sad for them. Like Jehovah, Noah took no delight in the death of the wicked.
That's BS.
It saddened him that so many had to die.
No, it didn't.
But he knew that those who perished had ample warning of what was to come. Even if they hadn't seen the ark Noah was building, they would have heard about it. They'd know why he was building it. Now it was too late for them. Jehovah had shut the door. Noah's family listened as the rain battered the ark without let up. And then came a moment they would never forget. Movement. They felt their massive wooden ark lifting from the ground. It was floating. Their hearts were beating loud and fast. Would their vessel hold together? Would their vessel hold together?
Yeah, what do you think?
I think it would have vibrated apart, truthfully.
Yeah, I mean, scientifically, it doesn't make sense. Even with Jehovah's Holy Spirit, it just doesn't seem like it would stay afloat very long. I mean, and didn't it end up resting on top of a mountain and teetering or something to that effect? So how does that work?
It would be like a rope. You know, you can't build it as a stiff structure. Even if it would be steel, it would be moving around. But this wooden structure that would just be one room and another room, and it would absolutely not work. But the point is that why I believe this is some serious new light is the point you made, that like the door is closed and no more people can come in, because they went into the ark and they waited for 7 days, I think, before the water came.
Mm-hmm.
So now stay at home. We sell all the kingdom halls. They already said that, you know, when the authorities say that Corona is gone, we should still stay home. So the witnesses believe that when they say, oh, everyone's vaccinated, that's peace and security. But the governing body receives direction from God, and we're going to stay home and be like Noah and lock the door and wait for the Great Tribulation.
So like wasn't there something in the Gospels where Jesus said, like, go into your interior rooms?
I think that's Jesaja. I think.
Yeah.
So, because when they were waiting after Jehovah closed the door, they didn't preach. So there was like 7 days of waiting, and now Jehovah Witnesses are sitting. Well, 7 days would be 7 years. Armageddon will come in 2027. Maybe. And then Watchtower say, we never said that.
Well, no, I see it like because it has to come after they finish their media facility, and then another 7 years. So I think we have until 2033 if it's supposed to be done in 2026. Oh, but
Yeah.
wait, there's also time to get everything up to speed and all the rest of that. So like, let's add on a couple more years. So like 2035, anybody? Like, place your bets.
Yeah. Let's see here what they say more. I have been preparing clips the whole 2 days here.
For 40 days and 40 nights, the noise of torrential rain filled the ark, and then it stopped. Imagine Noah and his family peering out of the ark and seeing nothing but water, no land anywhere. A wind blew, and the waters subsided. Finally, 150 days after the downpour began, the ark settled on land. What a happy day that must have been. Was it safe to go out? No. The waters had to subside further. There was plenty to do to keep the family busy. There were animals to feed and to care for. Still, Noah's family must have longed to be outside, to be free of the confinement, to feel the ground under their feet. Patience was needed. Picture the family spending time together, planning what they'd do when they came out of the ark. Another 73 days passed. Now they could see the tops of the mountains. Now, was it safe to exit? Noah peered out of a window.
Yeah, what do you think?
I'm about to go off, so I might let you talk first because I'm about to go off on something.
Yeah,
go off on it, Chessa. You know you wanna.
Okay, so this is kind of an off subject, but it kind of has to do with this. So you know how growing up, we already talked about how our families would keep literature on the walls and stuff, and there was all this anticipation, all this build up to the end coming. And so when you see this clip and he talks about how the family was talking about, oh, when we get out of here, this is what we're going to do. And, then the father looks out to make sure the coast is clear. I actually just got shunned by my last family member I had remaining, period, over talking about the institutionalized martyrdom of children. And what I was talking about there is when you're a kid and you see these pictures and these illustrations in the magazines and books, you really do feel like as a child, your life doesn't matter. Like if you're a kid and you're on that ark with Noah, it doesn't really matter. You know, you're just pretty much Jehovah's fodder until he's done using you. So I feel like this kind of reinforces that in a sense. Just by seeing the family on the boat, seeing them pretty much just be subjected to whatever Jehovah wanted to do with his Jehovah logic at the time, which was kill everything, right? And I think for a lot of kids inside right now, they're still, they're still perpetuating this. And I worry about young ones that are going to be watching this, young ones. And now that they're at home and they're not able to go back to the kingdom hall and whatever, I worry about the isolation there. And I feel like this kind of glorifies that sense of isolation in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like it's very damaging.
Yeah. I see what he describes sounds like family worship. You know, you should be sitting, talking about paradise, what we're going to do when we go out on the ark, where should we do with all the dead bodies and the smell animals. And but basically it's yet again, he's pointing that, you know, we should sit as a family unit, don't think about the reality with the fire hazard of having an open flame in an ark full of methane gas and dust. You can have a dust explosion in that. Could I literally explode with open flame? No, it's just focus on family worship and we sit here and wait for Armageddon. It seems to me like they are preparing new light that the preaching work is done.
You know, they talked a lot about how they were planning what they were going to do when they got out. I'm kind of reminded of Jehovah's Witnesses even now planning for, you know, like what house they're going to live in paradise, and they're house shopping. Like I was a regular pioneer for a year and got to be in the car with them, as it were. And all of the planning for the future was like, yeah, I would love to live in that house in paradise. You know, I hope they have nice stuff in there. That was the kind of planning that I heard. So the cynic in me goes, so was Noah's family planning like, well, depending upon where we land, I heard about this one guy that had a beautiful house and not like he'll be needing it anymore. Yeah.
Also, the way that Tony talks about and mocks like the family members that they must have preached to, and now the door was closed. Just like the way he kind of says that is very cold and kind of, I don't know. I always remember as a kid, I was always worried about like my grandmother on my dad's side because she wasn't in and stuff like that. So, you know, especially with the preaching work stopping now, that's kind of like closing the door on the ark. Like, how are people going to react to that, seeing that there's family members around them that are still not reacting? This is more of like a finality in a way, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, like get ready to say goodbye because it's almost over. You might as well stop feeling anything for them now.
Exactly, and I see that a lot because, like, for me, I always felt kind of a sense of comfort that the preaching work is still there because I was like, oh, well, there's still time. But if that ends up dissolving along with the congregations, I don't know what that's going to do psychologically. You know,
mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I think it's about cutting costs. You come to a point, you know, where you have to make okay, so like any politician might take a stand, you know, pro-life or against, you know, or anything, because you keep your base and you lose the other ones, you know, and they're losing members, so they can just go all the way exclusive brethren, or they can't continue as Jehovah Witnesses with the preaching work. It doesn't work.
You know, when a company is having like a non-cult company, when a company is having a lot of financial woes, you often read about them. Oh, well, we're restructuring so we can synergize. You know, like all of that market or CEO speak. We're restructuring so that we can focus this and all the rest of that. That's code for, well, we're just shit out of money and we're just trying to figure out where we can cut corners. Yeah, like I get the feeling that Watchtower is they're liquidating assets like Kingdom Halls left, right, and center. There a couple of years ago, it was discovered you had the IBSA Properties website, which was it in London? You had all of those really fancy houses that they were selling for like a couple £1 million a piece or something like that. Like they're liquidating all of this while building this media production facility, and like sinking all of their eggs into that basket. We'll make videos, we'll make movies, we'll do all of this, and just have like the residuals, but we'll keep telling people that the preaching work is going, but we don't have to print Watchtower. Imagine how much money they can even get if they start selling off all of these printing presses. And now it's a case of like, look, guys, there's no more physical literature whatsoever. Get yourself an iPad or a computer or a Chromebook or something like that. We've built the app for you. Just use that and be done with it. Kingdom Halls, yeah, we sold them all. We're going to just use Zoom from now on. Like, it's so much cheaper, but it's this perfect way to restructure the cult to save money. And get it all into one place. I mean, Christian Congregation of Jehovah's Witnesses Australasia funneled $20-some million out as donations to New York. So now they're centralizing all of that money into the United States so that nowhere else has it. Like, just doesn't this feel like they're just cheating everyone except for world headquarters? And that's what it's going to boil down to. We've got all the goodies. All you need is the internet, and that's it.
Yeah, I think if memory serves me right, they made like 90 or 100 million Norwegian kroner in Norway, and like 90% of that goes as contributions to the headquarters. Mm-hmm. So that would be, I don't remember the exact numbers, but like $10 million they make from Norway.
Mm-hmm. And they move it all around as donations. That way none of it can be taxable, but they can also claim on their books like, well, yeah, like we donate to other charities.
Yeah, this is sad. The elderly JWs are going to die of loneliness. That's might be true.
It may be true.
For sure, yeah. I got the privilege to watch a JW funeral over Zoom recently. Someone passed away, and so I was there. I didn't turn my camera on or anything. But
my mother.
Yeah, a lot of people who were lonely and felt, I don't know, just kind of isolated. It was kind of awkward watching the Zoom meeting and watching the people on it and how they were all just together. I don't know. It was weird. It's definitely weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we have to see what the faithful and discreet slave says here.
When the dove didn't return, Noah removed part of the roof of the ark. Now he could see that much of the land had dried out. Possibly he could see vegetation growing and flourishing in a way that it hadn't been possible in the days before the flood when the earth had been cursed. Still, Noah waited for Jehovah's direction. And then it came. Jehovah's command, go out of the ark. At last. What a joyful day that must have been. They'd been in the ark for 370 days. Picture the family coming out of the ark, laughing, breathing fresh air, eager to adjust to their new life. The animals came out too, and the family watched as they dispersed in all directions. Some they'd drawn close to, but now it was farewell.
Yeah, farewell. I like the clean floor in the ark.
Eager to adjust to their new life.
Yeah.
More like eager to adjust to anything apart from this dank, nasty, tar stinking, rotted out ark with a giant mess in the basement.
Yeah, and all the parasites. And
I would not be smiling and laughing. That's for darn sure. I would not be smiling and laughing get off that thing.
It would be worse than jail to be in that ark. First building it and then be there. It's worse than jail.
Mm-hmm.
It would be concentration camp to live in there, even if you would survive and not sink and all that.
I hate to have to leave, but I do have to get going here. It has been a pleasure talking with you all, though.
Yeah. So we have, I post a link here if someone wants to come in. Take some time because we have a lot of.
I have a. Can I plug my channel a little bit and projects
Yes,
I'm working
please do.
on? Okay, so I have a channel on YouTube that is the exact same name as what you see displaying here, XJW Silent No More. It has been somewhat inactive for the last few months. I'm an inactive publisher. I'm sorry. I've been busy in film school, but there are some projects that I have in the works for a couple of web series, some dramatic web series, and I do need to do some research, especially on one of them, and I'm going to need some help from the community on it. So you can also find me on Facebook. Just look for that same name, the XJW Silent No More. I have a Facebook page. Yeah. So
yeah,
keep up the good fight, everybody. And I don't mean the fight for the faith.
No. Yeah, thanks for calling in. We have to continue. It's not so much left, but let's see her.
Take care, everybody.
You're checking out now?
See ya.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see her. What the faithful and discreet slave has to see. So this is the link if someone wants to call in.
Noah wasted no time. He built an altar and sacrificed to Jehovah, and God expressed his pleasure.
Then Noah built an altar to Jehovah and took some of all the clean animals and of all the clean flying creatures and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And Jehovah began to smell a pleasing aroma. So
Jehovah Witnesses are not racist, but the story about Noah has a very strong racial implications, because they believe, if you look at this picture prior to the flood, you see the worldly people here making fun of Noah. You have a Caucasian person, a Middle Eastern person, and then you see when they leave the ark and they're sacrificing to Jehovah because he loves the smell of burning animal. You see the children of Noah was a black person, a Middle Eastern person, and a Caucasian person. And Jehovah Witnesses is a very American religion, so when they describe races, they are very much stick to black, white, Middle Eastern, and Jewish. But if you think about that story, imagine if I were Noah and I go to my wife and she said, well, Noah, I have given birth to 3 kids. They're all yours. This is your black kid, this is your Middle Eastern kid, and this is your Caucasian kid. Noah never thought that his wife had been cheating on him. That's kind of interesting. But the interesting part comes afterward, because they left the ark, and if you see at this picture, you see here that Noah's daughter-in-law is black. The other daughter-in-law is Caucasian, and there's a daughter-in-law that is Middle Eastern. So when they go out from the ark, Noah's wife and Noah's 3 daughters, they basically rebuild the human population. Really don't have to mention their names because they are just women, but the basic idea that these 4 women or 3 women after the flood is the mothers of all human beings. So Japhet was Caucasian, and his Caucasian wife made Caucasian babies. And then the black kid with his black wife make black kids. And the Middle Eastern guy and his Middle Eastern wife made Middle Eastern kid. And then the next generation, in order for this to work, then it must be like, from a Caucasian perspective, like, I don't want to marry my cousin. She's black. I don't want to marry my cousin. She's Middle Eastern. Damn, my sister looks good. And she's blonde. Let's make blonde babies. That's, according to Jehovah Witnesses, is the origin to races. That they had selective inbreeding. They had the possibility to marry their cousin, but no. I stick to my sister. It's a disgusting story, but you're basing your life on it if you're a Jehovah Witness, so please do some research.
What do you say, Rickard, if your wife told you that she gave birth to 3 of your kids, one of them is black, the other one is Middle Eastern, and the third is Caucasian, would you be suspicious? Can you hear me?
I'm going to re-sign in.
Okay. So, what do you think about this story, Shesa?
I liked your logic here about having to, that makes no sense, first of all. Second of all, choosing your sister over your cousin, selective inbreeding.
Yeah, but because it is really a part of the Jehovah Witness belief system, especially when you go back.
Right.
And so I'm not American, obviously, so it's easier for us to see it from an outsider perspective. You know, the ebony ivory thing you have going there, you know, that obviously is a part of American culture and Brooklyn culture, you know.
For sure.
But in the Watchtower literature, they make these 3 children of Noah having 3 separate races, and they picked each one a girlfriend that has the right race. That means that the grandchildren of Noah would only have sex with their sisters, and that's how races started to exist.
More Jehovah
1,000 years ago.
Yeah, it makes no sense to me.
It's a disgusting story. But why wouldn't Noah be a little suspicious when his wife, like the first 500 years, they had no kids, and all of a sudden she started, whoop, whoop, whoop. Oh, a black guy.
They didn't have paternity test back then or Maury, so I guess we'll never find out.
Yeah, after 500 years of celibacy, all of a sudden she got 3 kids with 3. I would have been suspicious if I was Noah. Maybe that's me. So let's see her continue.
Yes, I establish my covenant with you. Never again will all flesh be destroyed by the waters of a flood. I put my rainbow in the cloud, and it will serve as a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Whenever I bring a cloud over the earth, then the rainbow will certainly appear in the cloud, and I will certainly remember my covenant that I made between me and you and every living creature of every kind. And never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all flesh. And the rainbow will occur in the cloud, and I will certainly see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of every kind on the earth.
Never again will a flood deluge the earth. But Jehovah is not one to tolerate wickedness forever.
Yeah.
Stutters.
It's interesting. God needs like a big post-it to remember not to kill everyone with water. Still have a lot of things to kill, but not water. Are you on? So I working from the theory that Moses, if he existed, was a con man from the desert that told people, you should give 10% of your goats to me. And if you write it from a Middle Eastern con man, and he said, well, the rainbow, because if you live in Norway, you know that rainbows occur every time you have a waterfall. You can see a rainbow, even if it's not raining, you sometimes can see a rainbow through a valley just because of waterfalls. But a con man from a desert did not know that. So he would say the first time it rained, it's the first time we had a rainbow. That's my take on it.
I have nothing to add to that. That makes a lot of sense. So, yeah.
Yeah. Let's see how we have more wisdom from more divine wisdom.
The apostle wrote, and he, God, did not refrain from punishing an ancient world, but kept Noah, a preacher of righteousness, safe with 7 others when he brought a flood upon a world of ungodly people. Today, we live in a world that resembles the one before the flood. There's violence, and people do all sorts of things that Jehovah hates. People are concerned with the everyday affairs of life and take no note of the message of salvation that we proclaim. Ridiculers of God's people mockingly say, "Where is this promised presence of his? Why, all things are continuing exactly as they were from creation's beginning." They are wrong.
Humans promise what they do not have the power to deliver. Political, religious, and financial institutions have proved to be untrustworthy. With so many promises broken, we're not surprised that many people are skeptical about the future.
Jehovah knows how to rescue people of godly devotion out of trial, but to reserve unrighteous people to be destroyed on the day of judgment. Jehovah will make the earth a paradise, just as he originally purposed. The paradise will be inhabited by good people. There will be no people who rebel against God. And what of the rebellious spirit creatures? When the flood deluged the earth in Noah's day, the rebellious angels left their human bodies and returned to the spirit realm in disgrace. However, these demons have continued to exert an evil influence on humans down to this day. But when Jehovah acts again, the demons and their ruler Satan will be put out of action.
Yeah. What do you think? Is it fair to kill people just because they don't believe in your religion? Even if it's true?
I think StreamYard is working very bad.
Yeah. It's not God's one true organization. Can you hear me?
I only catch a word here and there. But
okay.
I will say that Jeremiah and Ezekiel both said something about the king, and they were opposite words. One, Ezekiel, I think he's the one that said, "They will drag you."
Sorry, we couldn't hear him. I have to be a little Nazi if people call in and nothing works because...
Understandable. That's just wild to me. I mean, I don't know how people can sit in their homes now on Zoom and watch Tony say stuff like this and then avoid all of the articles coming out on the organization being dirty money, having sex abuse allegations, being a form of cult mind control. There's a lot coming out on Watchtower, and there's a lot of mounting up against Watchtower. So for him to just create this false sense of security and continuously perpetuate that in an organization that's only done insane amounts of harm to people. I just saw, I think Joe wrote that she lost her mom on the operating table, and I'm so sorry. But if you think about the lives that have been lost based on this organization's decisions and policies, how can they make these grandiose statements about their organization when they fall in line with everything that they're coming up against?
Mm.
And how can people sit there and take it on Zoom?
Yeah, I watched the whole convention, and most of it was so boring I didn't do anything about it. But this Kenneth Cook, when he said, that human beings promise stuff they can't deliver on, religious or political. Yeah, that's what the Watchtower is doing.
Right. That's insane.
Had to, let's see here what they say more. It's, nah, the convention is too boring to watch. But
if I would take down this, using this tool, I could do 1 a day max. Because I'm good. And also I'm younger than Noah, he was 600 years. Then I have to take it out through the forest. That takes a lot of time. Then you have to join it together. But the funny thing to join this together is if you join it when it's wet, when you build the ark, and then eventually put the roof on, it starts drying. And when they dry, they open up. And then it will be leaking. And when it moves like this, you can fill it with silicon. Silicon is flexible up to 10%. But Noah was using basically asphalt, bitumen. That's not flexible. It dries, it cracks. So I'm sorry the boat would flink, but still, if you're a Jehovah Witness watching this, pick up an electronic calculator, see how many cubits 6 times 6 meters are, and then you take 4 of these when you come up to a meter, and see how many days I would need in a forest to take out this material using this kind of tool.
Yeah. So that was the
And
end
they took
of...
no note until the flood came.
Let's see here. I can remove. Yep. That was all from my files. So I think some witnesses want to watch this. My files. So I think some witnesses want to watch this. You really need to mute something, Gregory. So I think some of them must wake up when they talk about the flood, and it's just open another I don't know the English word, but on the Google thing, and do Wikipedia or Goatlike or YouTube, anything. They're doing a big gamble when they talk about the flood in detail. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not like any form of Christian science has ever really held up over time. And when you look at the schematics like you did today with the ark, and even making the videos that you did showing how long it would take, especially without a saw, to do that type of work, that's something that people have more access to the information for on the internet now. We didn't used to have that in the Kingdom Hall. We couldn't, we'd have to phone a friend and ask an elder, but now we have all the freedom of information we want. And so when you counter that to what you're getting from Tony, I can't see it standing up very long, really.
Yeah, I don't think it's my job to wake people up, but I was mostly intrigued by, I'm 100% certain that they're aiming for new light, that the preaching work is done and Jehovah closed the door. So, but also I think if you can wake someone up, the life quality improves 1,000,000,000% when you stop believing in all that crazy stuff. So maybe someone wake up. So really fast before we go to bed, at least I do. Hello, Gregory, who are you?
Hello.
Yeah.
I'm very new to this, so I'm trying to make sure how
it's working now.
Cool. Okay. I really enjoyed this streaming day because it was very funny actually with many of the comments.
Yeah. Are you ex-Jehovah Witness?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I'm still a Jehovah's Witness officially. Officially. But, I have a beard. Yeah,
beard
so I have a story to tell, but that's gonna, one day I will tell it.
I have a live disassociation every first Saturday of every month. So if you want to disassociate, you can do it tomorrow.
Sure.
You want to do that?
That for sure.
One day I'll tell my story. One day.
Okay. Yeah, every first Saturday every month you can call in and disassociate, and then we will have a nice thumbnail that says Gregory Sayus is no longer one of Jehovah Witnesses, and that's pretty cool because then all your family can Google it and know the reason. If you send a boring letter to the elders, no one gonna know.
My family is fully in and shunning me somewhat right now, so but I don't really care because I know why I left. So
yeah, Yeah. Now, if you don't want to tell your story, then we have to wait for another time. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining in, and see you in paradise.